Loading. Okay, guys. So my speech is on how shelter designs can help people recover from homelessness. I think I'll just jump right into it. Do you have the timer started?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Okay, wait. How do I click next? Okay, cool. Okay, so my biggest, jeez, I've never given a speech before. Okay, wait. Give me 1 second. Let me check the notes. Okay, I'm just going to dive into it. Could you imagine trying to rebuild your life in an environment that feels like a prison? It's probably really hard too when you're going through something super traumatic and last resort is going to a shelter. Most shelters are built like prisons. They're cold, they're lifeless, and I can imagine it's hard to focus on rebuilding your life and getting your life together in a place that doesn't feel homey or is super uncomfortable. Most shelters are designed with the bare minimum: bed, mattress. You sleep here, leave. Um, Shelters are designed to help people in their most vulnerable stages, but they can actually do more damage than help. Um, my speech is on if would change their design of their facilities, that it would help and motivate people to rebuild their lives quicker and put them in a better mental space during the time that they're there. Um, this slide basically just says, homeless shelters should redesign their layout just because it feels cold and lonely, and it really has a strong impact on people's emotional and day-to-day behaviors. Um, a researcher, Jill Payable, explains that a cold, plain, and institutional shelter space can make residents um, feel, isolated, and even can possibly make it even worse. You're already going through, a tough time, and it's like, all right, I have to sit in this. It's not jail, but it's like jail. And it's like, how can you focus on, accomplishing anything when the place that you lay your head down every night doesn't feel safe? Um, my theory is that, if homeless shelters rebuild their designs and, make it more homey, put more love into it, they would have higher success rates on people actually getting out of there and moving on with their lives. This is actually harder than I thought. God. Most shelter designs are cold, gel-like spaces and are often overcrowded. They're very institutionalized and they give you the bare minimum. Um, your environment has this plays a big part in your emotional and everyday to day life. If you're in a place that doesn't feel comfortable and doesn't feel like home, how could you possibly even think about moving on from there or getting your life together? With some people, it does have a good effect. Some people, it doesn't. Um, the mental effects on these places, you know, a jail-like environment can crowd your mind significantly. Um, it can feel very institutionalized, and some sort of loss of dignity can happen in the midst of that. Um, I think that serene places can help people think clearer in the time of, in their most vulnerable stage. Um, and I believe safe environments can help promote better behavior. You're less likely to act out. If you think about kids at home, if, their home space is not the best, they often go to school acting out and doing the most craziest things, and it's usually a cry for help. And yeah, my solutions would be if I had it in my power to change or design a homeless shelter, it would be to soften the lighting. Most shelters have very harsh lighting. I mean, it's almost gel-like lighting. It's bright. So using softer house lighting instead of bright commercial lighting. Comfortable beds, using, of course, you have people in and out, and the ultimate goal is to keep it clean, bug-free, etc. Instead of, thin mats, gel-like mats, I would say use waterproof mattresses. Um, comfortability is everything, especially when you're at a very low point in your life. And lastly, color and personality. Most of these shelters are designed, like I said, with the bare minimum: concrete floors, harsh lighting, bunk beds, thin mats. Using fun colors and adding personality and love to a facility can really change a lot, especially when someone is going through the worst time of their life. Um, Adding a touch of personality and love could really make a huge difference. And, you never know what the person who left there would think back on. It's like they can either say that was the worst place I'd ever stayed at, or they could say that was the best place I stayed at. And it helped me and it motivated me to do better and move on with my life. So, yeah. Any questions? How long was that?
It
6 minutes.
was 5:40. Was it 6 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay,
Love
good.
that. Okay.
I
Any
do
questions?
have a question.
Yeah.
I do think that this was a good topic. However, what you had just mentioned, someone can either see it as the worst thing or the best thing for them.
Mhm.
Now, do you think improving its design may may lead to future problems where, some people in this world, they stick to comfort. So improving its design, may be more comfortable for them, and then they
Mhm.
lose motivation to get out of those homelessness shelters.
Right, right. No, I totally agree with you. There is people that absolutely stick to comfort. I think, having making it more comfortable, but having structure, giving them, daily check-ins like, hey, are you on top of your goals? This is comfortable here, but this is not your, end all be all. This is not your final stage. So I think when it comes to that, including comfort would definitely have to include heavier structure when it
Yes,
comes
for sure.
to, are you hitting your checkpoints when it comes to you getting out of this facility?
Right. All right.
Mhm. Good question.
Thank you. Good speech.
Thanks. Okay. Yay, I'm done. That was nerve-wracking as ever.
You did really